I get started, guys. I don't know. Brew tank. What color do I think for stained water? Hang on, Brew Tank. I'm trying to do a live stream and Brew Tank is not watching it. He's messaging me. Alright, I'm back. Brew Tank, leave me alone. I'm going to answer your questions. But anyway, welcome to the show. Bass and Bonsai, in the house, broken rods, fixed rods, awesome rods, reels, peanut butter and jelly. If you guys don't know, I'm quite the fan of the peanut butter and jelly color soft plastics. I myself, until this weekend, I don't know if I've ever bought a peanut butter and jelly jig. Seriously. I don't think I ever bought one. I just would put like kind of match the color thing with the soft plastic on the jig if I wanted to look like. I just never bought one of these guys. I always had, you know, kind of get like a natural color and then you brighten it up with the trailer kind of deal. So if you guys, oh, hang on, don't go anywhere. But if you guys remember, this is what we ended up kind of replacing, and it matches pretty close to the one that Matt had. We caught, if you guys don't know the whole story, let me start over. Went over the last weekend, and not me, I caught on this exact bait, and you can see, look at the teeth marks. Oh my God, it was vicious. I caught a 4-pound plus bass, but Matt managed on his jig the day before. He caught 3 that 2 were probably over 6. And if you guys, I don't know, feel free to guesstimate what you thought those weighed. Caught 2 and then another like at least 5 on peanut butter and jelly. And I was tearing them up with the jerkbait that Brew Tank keeps messaging me about. Let me get it. And that was the main 2 baits. Like that were the main 2. You could get close to it with other stuff, but I did manage the cheap peanut butter and jelly jig. You know, now I said that because I bought those finesse ones, but I'm talking like what I consider a regular jig is like 3/8, just a regular jig, not like a finesse-y, not a BFS-y, that kind of stuff. Because I just kind of went natural like with jigs. But anyway, Brew Tank had asked me what bait. If you guys haven't watched that video talking about the poison adrenaline, go watch it because a lot went on over the weekend. I made a run back up to Rogers, and I just come from Rogers again. I won't go into that story yet. But the Megabass Edo Vision 110 Plus 1 Junior. And I don't even own a regular Edo 110 Plus 1, so it could have been doing the exact same thing. I only own a couple colors. I don't have a big selection. If you guys know anything about Megabass, I think there's an unlimited number. I don't think you can put a number on how many different colors there are. I know you can put a number on how many jerkbaits they make because I'm pretty sure it's like 14 different styles of jerkbaits just through Megabass. And then if you figure all the colors in each of those, you could start now and go buy as many as you could cast in a, I don't know, you could start casting them now and you'd probably be game over before you make it through just the Megabass lineup and all the different color options and all the different jerkbaits. Right? So Brew Tank was asking me about what colors, and it's pretty simple on any bait, whether it be these or whatever. What I start out with, honestly, white. If you're going in murky, muddy water, you can't really go wrong at least starting in white, in my opinion, no matter where you're at. Like I find if, and a lot of times white works in perfectly clear water too. Like white's a good colored option to have at every bait. Like everybody needs one bait of everything in white, right? And then black and blue. And then you go with these kind of things. In between, more natural, go to peanut butter and jelly, go to bright orange and, you know, pumpkin or a green watermelon, and then bright green up to almost a chartreuse like this knob. And you can kind of get there. But honestly, I have this and Elegy Bone, which is like a Pro Bone Blue, the only 2 of these Junior Plus 1s I have. And the next color I will probably get, because I like throwing jerkbaits when it's fairly clear and cold water. So I really don't go more intense than what this dude is. And then the Elegy Bone is actually the whole bottom is chartreuse. So that's kind of it as far as bright. And I don't I have a white jerkbait that honestly has not done a lot for me, but I don't throw them in, when it's muddy, I throw something else. I don't really throw jerkbaits. But the next color on this Megabass, this is, by the way, this is called Table Rock, what is this called? Oh my God, it's right here. Table Rock SP, I'm guessing special. So Table Rock special, and a color that comes real close to it that's even just a touch maybe more subtle, maybe a little more purple, not quite as white and chartreuse on the side, so if the water is even a little more clear. And I think it would have worked as good or better than this over the weekend because we had clear water. GLX Northern Secret looks real good to me. And I'm sure you guys all, if you fish Megabass, you probably all have your favorite colors. But there's a ton of colors. A lot of real natural ones. But if I was Brew Tank and he's saying it's murky or muddy, the French Pearl would probably be my first pick if I wanted to throw a jerkbait in muddy water. I'd go French Pearl. Probably Pro Blue. Nah, Pro Blue's like if... I don't think it's going to stand out much in muddy water. Murky, muddy. It's a good looking color though. You can't go wrong with having a Pro Blue. And then probably actually this dude, and then PM Twilight Chartreuse back that I'm looking at on Tackle Warehouses, what they offer. I'm sure there's probably even more. Yeah, I would go with French Pearl. If you're only buying one, if you're going to get two, I'd go with French Pearl. And then I would go to the either this, and if you're going to buy three, I would get the PM Twilight Chartreuse back, or this, either or. But depending on I don't know what depth of water you're going to be dealing with, you may want to, I don't know though, I keep hearing, and we had awesome luck with the Junior +1, but a little bit bigger, just Vision 110 +1 may also, in a little bit bigger bait and a dirtier, nastier water. And then you may also think about, I'm trying to think of which jerk bait, because see that's not a ton of noise. There's a couple jerk baits out there that actually make more noise than the re-ranges, I think. Hang on a second. Where's my... Oh my God, now he's got me on a whole different deal. We're getting ready to talk about some rods that broke and I fixed, but hang on. Let's just talk jerkbaits real quick. I tried several different ones. I'll try to show you if I can remember which ones I used. None of them did as good as that little 110 Junior +1. But I did not have any luck on one with the bigger, deeper ones where I was. But some of these cheaper ones from AliExpress, like if I was going where Brew Tank's talking about going, and depending if you've got the depth, these knockoffs that are like, these are like Vision 110 +2s basically. But like this white one would be a good option, but you can't go wrong with the, like when you got a bunch of chartreuse on one. I did not have any luck. I threw the Stacy 90 briefly. That's a Stacy 90 and Elegy Bone. I think it's just a little too clear water and that they weren't ready for that bright of chartreuse possibly, because I threw the Saturday, I only threw, where did I put it? Sunday on the Adrena, I only threw this. I threw it long enough to catch I don't know how many bass and went, I don't know if there's a 2-pound or bigger bass capable of hitting a jerkbait. They were dinks, there was a ton of them, but from the day before I'd only caught up to about 1.5 pounds, almost 2-pound bass. So I actually gave that exact bait to Hannah. I'm like, somebody needs to keep throwing it just in case a big one were to jump at it. But then, I went to other stuff. But the day before, Saturday, I had been throwing a lot of different baits, and I caught, I want to say I caught 1 or 2 on each, and I only have the re-range, and I didn't even bring out the jackal baits to throw on the jackal rod on Sunday. But see, they're not real loud either. These are more known for like flashing, so muddy water, these aren't going to be as good for you as a louder jerkbait would be. And I'm trying to see, I don't really have any name brands. I have the Meredith, the Re-Range, a couple Megabass, and then just everything's a knockoff, either an RC stick. I don't know which one, these are Duo Realis copies or something, but these suckers are loud. They're a little bit shorter, but they're definitely probably the loudest of the bunch. And somewhere I've got some that are bigger, they're like a 130, I think. I don't even know where they're at. But if you only want to spend 20 bucks on one, get the white one if you're going in muddy water. That's what I would recommend. Alright, enough about that. And I'm putting these back in the jerkbait box. So this dude right here is going back in my day box, because we're going to just throw him until he doesn't get bit anymore. Right? Could be on a big, they could be big the next time you go. Got to keep trying it. So back to the jig, and then we're going to go to rods, reels, and everything else. So that's the one, and that's the Croco Gator. And that is that certain specific color of the Baby Rage Menace. And I talked about that there's a few different kinds. The hard candy, the candy crawl, that's not it. It's a green pumpkin, purple, and gold is how it's on the packaging. So when I spotted these, and I should have bought them then. That's how I do sometimes. I went to Rogers, in their house brand, they also have a close kind of a purple. So but they didn't have it in like a flipping jig. And I'm like, you know what? I still need to just get me some more of the standard type stuff. And I had never seen quite this head. I was going to show you guys. So this is a football head. But it's got this crazy mouth, crazy cutout. So I don't know if this is also to be, I don't know what that is. Look at this weird looking dude. You guys see that? So for $2.99, Rogers packaging, and it does come with one rattle. I didn't even look at these real good. I'm just like, I'm going to get it. It's got a so-so of a bait keeper, not the great. It's actually got dual rattles. Let's compare the color. The color is very close. Purple head instead of a brown head, but the color is very close. So I'm going to go, whenever we go back, and I'll try it everywhere until I know it's not working somewhere. It's one thing I recommend if you're whacking them on something. I know everybody says don't go back to what they were hitting on kind of thing, but sometimes it pays off to at least try it. You know, don't live on it. Don't go back and throw it for like 5 hours, but try it. And that's, you guys know me. You've heard, probably if you watched the video, you heard Hannah talk about it. No, you'll throw it 5 times and switch. But that's why I use snaps. Until I get locked in on a bait or a color, I'm switching out. You know, I'll give something a little while. And definitely the longer I switch out and I don't get anything, then I'll slow down. But I typically start out switching out baits and looking to what they're hitting on. I'm either trying what I think they should hit, what they were hitting the last time I was there, or last time I was wherever I was at. This one has 2 rattles too. So you basically have a little finesse jig, and they make these in 3 different sizes. That's a mid-size one, 5/16. They make a 7/16 and 3/16. And so the little finesse one has no kind of keeper whatsoever on it. Has a horizontal line tie. Not too bad a weed guard. That's the kind of hooks I like. Like good hooks, they're going to give some, but we're here in the Midwest, we don't have monster bass. You may catch an 8-pounder if you're very, very lucky, but 4s, 5s, and 6s, that's your big bass. So I think the hooks are plenty good enough. They're definitely sharp out of the package. So yeah, we got a swim jig, a football head, and then a finesse. All within range of that color. And these are only, the Croco Gators, they only end up being about $3 a piece anyway. They come in a 2-pack. But this is the head, the close to the style. I like the true Arky style even better, but something like that when I can get them anyway. And I know somebody's like, there's two things I should just do. I should start tying up my own, whether it be chatterbait, anything that takes a skirt, I ought to buy some skirt material and just start tying my own the way I want them, because I get that way. And I should honestly learn how to build my own fishing rods, as picky as I am. So anyway, on that note, let's switch over to other stuff. And I guess you could say there's a purple in this, so maybe the purple, because this was the fire bait. These two, this on bottom, for the weekend anyway, that water we were at. I would say it was anywhere from 8 to 10 foot visibility. Slightly, I wouldn't call it stained water. It wasn't like crystal clear, but maybe there's something to that purpley. But I tried some other different purple stuff. It was just kind of like a peanut butter and jelly thing, and then that dude was just kicking it. So, I know you guys are wondering about fishing rods, right? And reels. So let me address first. If you guys watched, I unboxed the Wizard rods and managed to snap one of them just in like little flex test. I didn't even like move it hard. It didn't even snap loud. Like it was a defect either somehow, even though I thought it looked like it was shipped perfectly fine, packaged very well, it got damaged in that. It was just a flaw in the blank. Well, since then, I went out and fished the medium heavy Wizard. That was a medium, 6'8". I fished a 6'10" heavy, or medium heavy, sorry. No problems. Caught that 4 whatever on that jig. Casting real hard. This, I didn't try casting something that heavy. That's 3/4 ounce. But this 3/8 with that on it, pretty much as hard as I could. Distance casting and caught the fish, and so it seems like it's going to be fine. I also went ahead and, just because I guess I could, and I fixed my BFS ones, but sometimes when you get into medium heavy and you're putting a lot of power in them. So I'd watched another, even though I've done it before, I watched another guy, a couple different little deals on fixing rods, and then it showed him like really putting them on a hard bend test. And they used, I don't know, this looks gaudy, it looks horrible, but this is the way I did it, and they also did the way they did it, so I doubled it here. I'm like, I don't want it to break anywhere in here. If it's going to break, it's going to break out here or in there. I don't want this to be weak again. So the guy simply used a nail. It just showed him. He took a nail, he found one that fit like the perfect size, and then he cut the head off of it, and he glued the nail in one side, glued it in the other, kind of matched up, and then what he did was he just wrapped it with thread, from about an inch or inch and a half on each side of the break, and then it showed him later on stress testing it. Well, what I did was I did the nail, but then I also did what I used to do. I always got like a piece of blank off of another rod that I've broken or destroyed over the years, or just whatever. I'll have some of that stuff laying around. I always keep it around. And I also put that on the outside, so I glued the inside. It should have done it. It probably just needed thread, but then I put one on the outside, and then I also put, just glued some thread I had laying around on the outside. And I know let me get a close up. My cosmetic skills are horrendous, and that thing is a bigger hump there. But I have to say, I was out there casting the frog, half-ounce frog, just like I would in distance testing, is casting it as hard as I can. And this dude right here, half-ounce Booyah popping pad crasher that's seen way better days. And the rod's rated at this, if you guys can see it. (6'8", extra fast, medium, lure weight. It says 7 to 18, right? So it's like kind of up there on the upper end of it, but I can tell you this, I don't know, made 8 to 10 casts as hard as I could, for distance with the Zillion, and no sign of issues yet. And then I've set my drag. Now I didn't set it as tight as I could, for that is 20-pound line. This is recommended only up to 14-pound. So I set it for, I felt like the rod, I had this rod like fully bent, flexed, loaded up, and I set the drag to where I could yank as hard as I could, and the drag will slip and the rod, you know, loads up. It's not gonna, you know, it wouldn't snap a normal rod, and this rod didn't snap either. But I put it like beyond where it should go. Now, you guys all know me, and that somebody commented even just today on there's like, you kind of run your drags a little loose. Yeah, I typically am, if anything, I'm on the loose side. I like to have my drag set to where, and I've talked about this several times, and because I've had it happen to me. I've had it happen to me on Whopper Plopper, several baits. It actually happens several times a year. You get right at the boat and something hits it, and your knee-jerk reaction is to yank that rod as hard as you can. That's just what I do anyway. And if I don't have, you know, back when I ran, you know, tight, I don't care how tight your or how thick a line you have, unless you're, you know, like straight 50-pound braid. If you have 20 pounds or less, and let's say a big one, a 5-pounder, hits you right at the boat, and you yank as hard as you can, you're more than likely the shock is going to snap, because usually they're, like if it's 20 pound, there's probably a something somewhere, either that knot is already, it could be hour old, 5 hours old, or whatever. There's probably something that's weakened the line a little lower than its rating. But even 20 pound, if you do a knee jerk hook set right at the boat, you stand a chance of breaking that line. Because I don't know if you've ever tested line, like you try to tie on into a scale. If you just pop it like this hard, it will snap before that scale reads very much weight at all. But if you pull slow, it will get to what pound test rating they have. They don't rate line at what it can take in a shock force, because you would end up fishing with some very thick line to get up to 20 pound, you know, shock force breakage. So that's why I set my drags on my reels to, you know, I've had a few different videos on this, to where if something is right there, I yank as hard as I can. The drag will give before the line breaks, or the rod, depending on, you know. And sometimes I also do fish with I might be fishing with a line on a rod that I feel the rod would snap before the line, so I adjust to that while I'm out. And I do it simply by attaching to something solid and get about 10 foot away from it, and kind of just yank and tighten the drag until you get that leery feeling like, oh, something's about ready to snap, you know, before the drag goes. Like, you know, the drag's going, but you're like, oh, that's close. And I'll leave it there, because you'll hear my drags. When I set the hook, you'll hear it go, and it's, now I can feel it, and you'll hear me sometimes go, oh, that's too loose, because I can feel the give, and I can tell, okay, that's, you know, and I'll go a few tighter, and it honestly takes me a while to set that. And long, as much as I always switch rod and reels around, I'll get like 3/4 of the way through the season before I feel I got any of them set kind of right. But if I would be like a normal person, get my combo set up for the year and go out, within a trip or two, you can have them fine-tuned to the drag to where it's as tight as it has to be to set any hook on any rod you're going to have it on. But I'm also the guy that would take this jig out there and just try it on the 6.6 Teton, just to see if the Teton can set the hook on a hook that big. Honestly, without that guard, I'm almost positive it will. But with that, having to get it pushed down and stuff, I would not even try it with the Teton. But we are going to try it with the Poison Adrena, the 611 medium plus. And I think, honestly, even this hook, it won't have a problem. This hook right here is definitely thicker. I probably won't try it with that. That is a lot thicker of a hook. So anyway, the Wizards are, I think, legit. Oh, and before I forget, if you guys all know Jay comments regularly on here. He also bought, as soon as I mentioned it back when that I bought one, he jumped on there before waiting for me to test them or anything, and looked at them and bought, I think he just bought one of the Wizards, and there's another one from Mavlos that for whatever reason mine was canceled and I didn't get a chance to get it. But it was only $54. And he said he was cast testing, and like I talked about, he was casting pretty hard, and his, you know, he did some, he like, you know, tested it also on the bend, and he said his is fine. So I'm probably going to go out and fish these, even the broken one. And if the broken one that I fixed does not break, and definitely if the 6'10", so far it seems fine, I probably will recommend those. Maybe not, I don't know. But let me just explain this. Here's what I did. And I kind of feel bad about it, but then again I don't. Because if you guys all know, Crazy Lou's lady, I messaged about wanting to get a handle. I guess I should have mentioned I want to buy one. I said I need to get one of these handles, and she just sent me one. They never charged me for that. I kind of felt bad about that a little bit, right? But here's what I did with the Wizard. If you guys didn't know, following the story, I messaged the guy first, the seller, and he's like, well, just file a claim. Okay, so I filed a claim. Well, the rods were $100. They only gave me $50 back. I'm like, well, this sucks. I'm out $50. I got a broken rod, and I'm out $50. So I got $150 in the other Wizard. That, at the time, I'm like, that sucker's probably going to break, and I'm going to send the deal on it, and I'm only going to get 50 for it. I'm going to be out $100, won't have any rods. So I was like, what if I just filed another claim on this one, and I'll get my $50 back? So that's what I did. And they gave me $100. I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah, I kind of feel bad, but I kind of don't, because then I had the fishing store. Like, if you go individual stores, I'm still $20 behind on my AliExpress stuff on getting the short end of the stick on the, if you guys remember the Micro Monster, I bought $75. The guy sent me the whole wrong reel, and the fiasco went back and forth with him, and then the dispute thing, and I never got anything on that. I had the funky reel. I think me and Charles managed to sell it to somebody down his way, bought it for like $20 or something. So I'm still technically in the hole as a whole. But I don't know if I'm going to recommend that at all on the Wizards. But if Jay, it'll probably be one of those things in a few months. I will decide if I should even mention that rod anymore, or should I just sell it? Because if I'm not going to recommend it, I'm not going to fish it. So if I decide I want to keep fishing, if I like it that well, then I'll probably start recommending it. But buyer beware that, out of my first two I bought, one had a defect. And it's kind of, I'm just like, and people talked about the Arise reel that I just told you guys about. When you're on there and you're buying like under $100 stuff, like reels that you've already seen people kind of talk about that are pretty good, like a reel's a little more of a, and no, this isn't broke if you guys are wondering. I'm in the middle of like switching handles around. When you buy a rod from eBay, from the neighbor down the street, from AliExpress, from Japan, there's no guarantee. So once you get something around that $100 or more, like I bought the Rainy Stream for $200, fished it for off and on last season. It's set this season. I haven't even got it out yet. But I like that rod. Awesome rod. I don't think it's ever going to have an issue. I think if it breaks, it'll be because something I did that was stupid. And I'm thinking that's probably why these Wizard, well, the one Wizard, 6'10", this 6'8", could possibly actually, the stress cracks could spread out beyond where I fixed at some point and snap is in my mind. So I'll just keep fishing it and see, possibly, or I may just ship it down the road. But back to the reels, we had a guy, one of you guys had commented that you weren't going to spend that much money on these, the Arise, the Elite, and the Air, and probably didn't want to spend or wouldn't have spent that $120 for the original Arise that was out. So Jay's the one that originally bought one of those, and I think he ended up buying a couple more because he liked them so well. So that's what I bought one, tried it out, did some cast tests, put it up against the Bantam and the Zillion, and in my mind it came just a little short, like within a few feet. But it was right there. But it was a little more finicky braking system. So I'm picky. I got rid of it to Charles. And we're just talking about, if you guys watched the live stream before the Elite live stream, talk about, well, if Arise were to start something different with these, I may look at them again, and all of a sudden, boom, I found the Elite and the Air. Nobody had mentioned them. I hadn't seen anything about it. So then I jumped back on and did another live stream about those, and honestly didn't know if I wanted to get one or not. Then I talked myself into it. So I do have the Elite coming. They said they weren't supposed to release until the 14th of this month. They already shows mine is shipped, like it made it and it's shipped. So who knows with AliExpress? Could be 2 weeks, could be a month. We're gonna get that in. I'll get out, test cast it. I'll probably put it up against the Lingle because I don't think that's going to be in the class to go like with the Dark Wolf Ultra, the new SS Air that's coming out, the Aldebaran MGL, possibly the Corrado, but I don't have a Corrado BFS. Bonsai guy has it, and it was close to like this guy in the cast testing I've done, the Xinghe Linglong. So that's what I'll do when it comes in. And I also traded Charles back for the original, that gold one I had. So the other old original Arise I bought first is coming back. I traded Charles both my, it was kind of a 2-for-1 because the Arise are more expensive and they are a overall better built reel. I didn't say performing, they're better built. They should outlast all of these other reels, even though this is a good reel. We're like a season in on these. So far I really haven't had an issue. One of these, the very first, I don't remember, one of these I had an issue with, if you guys remember, I think it was a thumb bar felt weird. But then I took it apart and cleaned it like 2 or 3 different times. And I found one little crud of something. I don't even remember what it was. I mentioned it in a video. And it clipped. Whatever it was, I didn't fix anything. Just taking it apart back and forth seemed to cure it. It probably had something internally, a little flashing piece off the mold that just got where it wasn't supposed to be, but then it fixed itself. So no issues with the Lingle, no issues with the Acura, Dark Wolf Ultra. You guys know the whole brake issue. But once that was solved by adding the little 0.5 magnets, those reels seem legit, but they are just plastic. They're just like the Arise Air that's out, just like not the Kestrel, but the Valiant Eagle 2. And oh shoot, I keep forgetting the name of that reel, the first Cast King BFS one. Those are, what do you call it, this graphite, carbon fiber, plastic blend, whatever. They're plastic reels. They're not aluminum framed or magnesium framed. So just the flex, if you go to too thick a line and just over time, in theory, now I don't know, I'm not trying to dog this thing before we know for sure, these should not last as long as an aluminum framed reel. So the Arise just has a touch, I don't know if I call it smoother, it does have a more refined feel than any of these others I've messed with off AliExpress. Even the Clamber that was an aluminum frame reel, but kind of reminded me of Abu Garcia. That Arise reel is like right there with Luz and Abu Garcia, maybe even ahead of them, just on how good that reel does feel. You know, I'm not talking about casting, I'm talking about like the retrieve, the overall feel, the smoothness, just when it's in hand and how it works. It's a little on the loosey side. You got to run the brake, in my opinion anyway, you got to run the brakes a touch on the conservative side. You can't just you can't go free willy like I feel you can with like a Daiwa SV type thing. You can kind of run those suckers a little loose, and if they do backlash, it just tends to be not a huge backlash. It's hard to explain, but some reels just when they backlash, they break your line off, or they backlash so bad, even with braid, they dig in. I don't know what it is about certain reels, just have they're just harder. Like I think even the Shimano reels, may sound dumb, it's like they backlash harder than the Daiwa reels that have the SV. Even my the HLC with the boost, I feel it's I don't know, something about that SV thing, it doesn't let it ramp up hard enough, or I don't know what it is. It's almost like on the same note, the BFS reels in general are kind of like that. The shallow spool reels tend to, this is all with braid, they tend to not be that big of an issue compared to a deeper spool. Just once you get that more line and rotating and a freer spool in a sense, because it's going to have more weight, it just becomes more of an issue. I don't have as much of an issue with these shallow spool ones. When fluorocarbon on a deeper spool backlashes, game over. It takes you like 35 seconds. You gotta like take half the spool off. I had it happen to me a couple times. Once with when we were fishing with Matt, I watched. If you guys have watched that one, it was one of Hannah's daughter's friends. Olivia had went fishing with us. She never used a bait caster. Matt was just having her hold his until he got the spinning reel out of a tree. She had thrown in a tree, and I watched her. She pushed a button and let the bait drop into the water, and didn't put her thumb back on. And like I was like, "Give me that, girl." You backlashed it, and sure enough, I had to take like half that fluorocarbon spool off to where the backlash went through. And then me and dealing with this right here, the few times I backlashed it, I can tell you guys right now that yeah, I don't like fluorocarbon. I honestly, the 20 pound sniper that I bought gave $26 for that spool, and I spooled this up with it. I did go ahead. I think there is some, I think there's some braid under there. Maybe not. I just put like 160 feet or something. But I gave that rest of that spool to Matt. I'm like, here you go. I don't want it. I know what I like. I like braid the leader. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it spooks fish. If it spooks fish that much, I'll just put on a whole thing. If I feel it's too spooky, I do carry my P-Line original with me, and I have 8. No, wait, I have 6. I left the 8 out. I carry the 6, the 10, and the 15. I'll just put whatever line how far down I need to go if I think I need to spool up one of my reels. You know, maybe with an extra long, crazy leader on like 10 pound if I think they're that spooky. And put the 10 pound on and go from there, because I am not a fluorocarbon guy. Just not going to do it. Did it, tried it, done. So, Jade asked a question I'm going to try to answer. If you guys know the Poison Adrena, I bought that rod, man. First day, I've only fished it one day, so I can't like tell you, oh, it's the greatest rod in the world. But in the one day I used it, it covers like almost every type of fishing I do other than BFS or if I go here. So basically, I could take that 611 medium plus and fish all day, and then if I want to throw jigs, bigger stuff, I'm going to need one more rod for this high end, heavy, you know, bigger hook end on especially single hooks. It'll probably handle some of the bigger treble stuff, but really once you go past like a 3/4 ounce rattle trap or bigger stuff, then you kind of maybe need something bigger. But then all the way down, I threw it'll handle shaky head and it'll handle TRD type stuff. So really, just going to true BFS would honestly be where that rod is going to struggle a little bit. I mean, they were dinks, and then once the summertime's here, and if you were to get on a bite with these little hooks, but like I mentioned, I run my drags a touch on the loose side, so like right now, I don't have an issue throwing any jerk bait on that rod. It may not be the best one for it, but it will handle all those. And part of it is because it's not the sensitivity, for me anyway, when I'm looking, that's not the first thing I'm thinking about. Just like I mentioned, the braid deal. I don't really, I fish with braid, and it just makes everything way more sensitive, because even the fact that the fluorocarbon's hard to manage, it is not sensitive as braid. Like, you feel like you're missing something. If you fish with braid and then you go to fluorocarbon, it's like, this rod just got like dull. Like, even if it's a good sensitive rod, it just dulls it down. And braid, you have to get braid. Braid just needs to be out there. Like, me and Charles have talked about this. Like, the wind will be blowing and that braid will look like this. I can still feel bites. Like, a lot of guys think it needs to be very, very tough. Now, it helps. But it's one of those things where, just like fluorocarbon then, if you have a little bit, more, I guess, pressure you have, it translates the signal, right? Better, but I think unless braid does like softens up to the point where there's like almost a loop there kind of thing, I'll still feel it. But then on top of that, I can see braid going into the water better than any other line. And usually, even if it's the camo braid, like braid, it just kind of stands out right where it's going into the water. And a lot, I try to when I'm very focused on actually fishing and not jacking around, talking to, you know, whoever I'm fishing with, or trying to get, you know, watching somebody try to get something out of a tree or something ridiculous. If I'm paying attention, I'm watching usually my rod tip, my line into the water, and then I'm filling, right? And so it's like, I don't know, there's just an extra, I'll call it attachment to the bait when I'm fishing with braid that I feel with any other line. Copolymer, mono, especially mono, fluorocarbon, it takes away some of that. Just from the feel and from also the vision of seeing the line. Because a lot of that line, fluoro, copolymer, or whatever, unless you're using a high vis yellow or something, it's actually can be very hard to see what that line's doing. You don't even see where it's at sometimes. And it can be hard with braid too. But in my mind, you got a better chance to see the line, even if it's not a high vis braid. And some people actually fish for that reason. They kind of use it like a, you know, strike indicator type thing. They will put a little bit longer leader material on and run a fairly high vis braid. And that's kind of what that blue is. The blue is probably the best of it's probably more natural looking in the water, but it's a pretty good visibility. I used to like the vermilion red. I just haven't. I've been away from it for quite a few years with red. I still have a couple of these with red, but it's not something I use all the time. But as far as the what I feel the Poison Adrena does, and honestly, I like it better. I've had the NRX rods. Now I just had the Jig Worm rods. The overall action that that rod has, even when I felt their glass one up there, and kind of why I like the Carbon Light rods also. It's like the tip has this. It's kind of like a dual stage, and I've heard several people talking about how the Megabass P5s are like this, and I don't know for sure. You know, out on the water fishing them, but like in hand and filling them, I have never felt the P5s in hand or nothing. But I'm just going off of what I look for in a rod that have this. I don't know, the tip. It's not really. It's definitely not extra fast, and it's not even really fast. The tip gives, but it's stout. I don't like the real. The only rod I've liked was the solid tipped Tatula rod, but then it jumped into backbone. But it was awesome for bottom stuff. Like maybe the best rod I've ever used for like the small shaky heads and small bottom stuff, but yet had jumped into a ton of backbone. But for an all around rod, that wasn't it. But for the like what I like, the Adrena and even those Lure Star, the contest rods, these purple ones, I feel the one I've got, the medium light, is probably the best at that because the feeling, the light one, it's more parabolic, kind of like the Teton 661. Very forgiving rods, very good about keeping the fish hooked up. But as far as what you can throw with them very comfortably, they kind of lose there. But the Poison Adrena that I have, the 6'11" medium plus, I feel that just how the tip, the action of the tip, and then how it jumps into, it's kind of like a powerful yet forgiving backbone to where you can throw treble, straight hook, like it just fills in there. It may not be the perfect rod some of you guys would think for anything, but it can do it all, and it honestly does it very well. I think the trick to rods like this is just once you get used to what it is and what it can do, it's like it's better than most of the other ones. Now, as far as Jay was wanting me to like give a comparison, you know, the Adrena over, say, the contest, the higher end, you know, stuff coming from AliExpress, these wizards and stuff like that, or maybe even comparing it to some of the other rods that have the cross woven different stuff. It's just my opinion. You guys have heard me dog the shit monos, you know, reels, but I do like those reels. But I honestly feel that Shimano has it down when it comes to the minute you start doing that cross woven stuff. There's several other companies and they feel pretty good, and I think they've all pretty much tried to copy Shimano. Now Megabass, the Destroyer X7 lineup, I had three different two or three different rods in that lineup. The Destroyer X7, they were like a crossroad woven. And I honestly feel those were awesome rods, sensitive, covered a lot, but I feel they were a little too powerful for their rating. Like I felt they were a little. I feel the Shimano's, the ones I felt, from the X Prides, the Corrados, and then fishing the Adrena, which technically is supposed to be the best of the bunch in that lineup, other than if you go with the NRX, right? NRX Plus and the I think the Conquest, right, are the spiral. They have that too in them. But I've handled NRX Plus, and I don't feel they have the action even that the Adrena does. So I don't know if the guys that Jackal specified they wanted them made a certain way, something's a little different. But from the older Megabass X7 to any of these that I felt from AliExpress, I would call them, because I've talked about it. You guys heard me talk about the contest. I think every one, light feels more like a medium light. The medium light feels more like a medium, or maybe even a medium plus. The medium feels like a medium heavy. These rods right here, the Wizards, are probably almost, to me, close to that same thing. Like I think this medium, it may kind of feel close to like what the medium, it still feels a little bit stiffer than what the medium X Prides feel like, or the medium Corrado. I've honestly not felt a medium Adrena. I don't know for sure what they felt like. It definitely, I would call these, they feel kind of more like the Adrena medium plus until I get out and fish this medium one. The medium heavy definitely feels stiff. In my opinion, it's more on the verge of being a heavy. It's stiffer overall, I feel, than the Carbon Light 2.0, which I feel isn't quite, like I feel it's medium heavy on the light side of medium heavy. That's why I like it. I think that's why it kind of flexes a little softer than what your normal jig rods would. So that's why I think it does work for jigs, but it also jumps in and works for, I like it for chatterbaits. It even works for the 3/4 ounce rattle traps, like perfect. I like it for that. A little bit bigger treble hooks. It has enough forgiveness, but I got the 7-foot medium moderate for my, like, all around as far as Carbon Light and now the Poison Adrena. And I think the Adrena and what Shimano has done, I think, and just by kind of looking at how they're woven and what they're doing, they're the only ones, if you really look, like this one, once I got to talking with Jay also, once you really look at this, it is crossed multiple ways, you know, but it just looks kind of like, for one, they've crossed it very tightly. Like, if you look at, I can't show you on the Adrena because it's all like internal, they got a coating over it kind of thing, you can't really see it. But on the X Prides, it's more, and the Zodius is another one, I've handled those too. They're more separated. You can actually make out the crosses as they go up the blank, and they're all the way up the blank, just like this rod is. This rod, whatever they call that, is all the way up the blank. The Destroyer X7s were all the way up the blank. I feel that Shimano's actually lightened it up so they don't have as much of that cross stuff on their blank, and they're kind of letting their blank do what it's supposed to do, and the X wrap just enhances it. It should enhance sensitivity a little bit and overall stiffness, yet let their, whatever their, you know, the blending of that blank and that makes for, in my opinion, a touch lighter feeling, yet still crisp, and a more forgiving overall rod on the ones I've handled. So, like, if you're wanting to jam hook sets and crank them in, you probably would actually like these Wizards, the Contest, and the older Destroyer X7s over any of the Shimano's. But for me, I don't know, I guess I feel I'm more a touch, I know I go nuts at times, but I'm more on a touch on the, like, the, oh, I don't even know what I'm looking for, kind of finessey side. Like, I like I don't know, I run my drags a touch loose. I try to catch the biggest fish possible on the smallest setup possible. But I also am trying, I started last year and going to continue this year to get the hook set and get the fish in, right? Like what can we get out there? What rods just have that? Because I feel there's rods out there. I feel the carbon lights have it. Almost all the carbon lights have it. They have like an it factor when it comes to hook sets. Like you can just yank and fill it and they come in. Now what's weird, the contest rods, I feel for me, when I was trying them, and that goes back to, I think they're just a little stouter. Like once you get in, I was trying to use that medium that I feel is probably like a medium heavy for chatterbaits, and I think it's just still a touch too heavy. Probably good for just jigs only, but some about the chatterbait where you need a touch more forgiveness in it. It definitely struggle for me for hookup ratios, but every time I hand that to a girl who they typically, and I'm not trying to dog girls, but they don't yank as hard. The rod is a little stiffer overall and it works fine. So if you're out there and you're like, yeah, I have a hard time of like actually yanking hard. I think me just being how I am, I've kind of put it to them, even though sometimes it don't look like I am. And that if I'm dealing with too stiff a rod, and I always fish braid, right? That's like a bad combination. So I think with the possibly the P5s, the Adrena, any of the Shimanos that have the crosswoven stuff that aren't more just, you know, extra fast at the tip, or like in my little wheelhouse on rods I like and want, and I think that's why they're a little better. I think they've just put a little more into it than what some of these other, that Torrey blanks and all that stuff, because they're very light. Like if I have to brew tank, where have you? I've been on here forever, 51 minutes. Yeah, you messaged me right when I went live about the this dude. So you missed it. I already told you what to get. The white one, dude. Get the white. Never. You can't go wrong with white in muddy water. Well, unless something else is working better. French Pearl OB or whatever that says. That's one I'd go with. Now, if I bought two, I'd go with that other one. That's $40. That kind of, it does suck, but man, they do work. Yeah, Twilight Chartreuse back, which is actually these knock. I do have the knockoffs roughly in that color, and there's times when that color would work. Where'd it go? I think that's what these are, basically. And I have a bunch because I bought one and it worked, and then I bought the other knockoffs because they were like $5. Like this is an RC Sticks. I like this one. It's kind of natural. It's kind of white. I call it the clown. But I do like that one. It's kind of, it's not really a matte, but the way it's textured, it's almost a, it's like a cross in between a matte or a, it's not a shiny finish. I got a couple of those, a couple of actual this, and then this crazy white dude. I don't think I've yet to catch a fish on that dude. But like I said, I don't throw it muddy. I don't throw it. Once it's that murky, nasty, I usually am throwing something else. Go back and watch it, Brew Tank. You'll see me talk about it. You might want to try to track down some that make a lot of rattling noise. If you're going to be in very nasty water, there's that other one. So yeah, I've got like the regular copy of a Vision 110. That's not even an RC Sticks. That's just a knockoff house brand. I want to say those were $7.99 maybe. And then I've got the real little dude somewhere. Yeah, that he's even smaller. And then that dude's a knockoff too. They're even, that's a 2-hooked one. That one still has 3, but they're even smaller than the 110s. There is the only, other than the 2 Junior Plus ones I just bought that I've torn up on, like, actually, that's the only Megabass Vision 110 I've ever bought. And it's not even a regular 110. It's got this square bill. That's why I bought it. I'm like, oh, cool. It's like in my favorite color. That probably shouldn't be my favorite color anymore because I feel that this color may not be. It looks awesome. And it does get hit. It's kind of a naturally color that's, that one's probably all faded out. But yeah, that thing used to look a whole different color. That is still the original hooks. They're still sharp. Kind of bent them back a few times. I've been thinking about I need to change those on that. I probably just need to retire that dude and go buy a couple more of these actual Megabass Vision 110. Couple different colors I like, and a couple of the plus ones. I think I'm gonna stay away from plus twos. If they're that deep, let them stay there. So anyway, I need to get out of here. I got to go to the gym. I got to drop off some money. Noah's up the RC track. Yeah. Kids and money, right? Can't have both. You got to decide if you're young. You can either have kids, no money, or you can have money and don't have any kids, right? So anyway, that's a joke, but not really. Sort of, but not really. That thing should stand up and catch. You just throw it out there, let it hit the ground. Look at that. Fish on. This Saturday's looking nasty. I'm gonna try to go fishing tomorrow. That thing just does. It's like, don't. I could just see that, going down the water and just standing straight up. It's when you get one of those big TRDs and stick on it. Get a peanut butter and jelly TRD, the big one, the big TRD. Throw it on there and just throw it around like the huge monster TRD crazy deal. That dude just looks like he likes to party, I'm telling you right now. We'll see if he can catch us a fish. I don't know how often and when I'm going to try these. I'll be trying this one first. If it gets bit, maybe I'll jump into those and try a few different ones. Any questions? Nobody? So the Poison Adrena, like, I can't recommend anybody to buy a rod for $379 that only comes with a year warranty, like I did. But it was up at Rogers, and I try to support them when I can. That's where my Bass Baby came from. My NRX, when I was back there doing that test, I tend to typically buy a lot of higher end, high dollar stuff from them when I can. Support your local, whether it be hobby store, tackle store, whatever. Local guys. Rogers is, I guess, still mom and pop. I'm pretty sure the guy that originally started it is still there, who I saw the other day that still owns it, I think. But yeah. Charles is supposed to be tracking down at Everhart's if they got the original one that Matt has, but yeah, Eddie says he knew I would like the Adrena. Yeah, I liked it from the time I grabbed that sucker up at Rogers. I could just feel it. I was like, whoa, this thing has just, it felt better than all the other rods I felt up at Rogers. And they've got Conquest, they've got the Dobbins Ecstasy, whatever that crazy $600 some St. Croix. And the Ecstasy and the St. Croix just feel too heavy. I'm sure they work fine, but St. Croix I've always felt a little heavy. I've had a couple over the years that awesome working rods, but they're just heavier, and which translates to more tip heavy than almost any of the other higher end rods. But other than the lightness of few of the NRX rods, this Poison Adrena it's out there. I think in my opinion, I would have to go through the whole NRX Plus lineup. I'm sure I could find a rod in there, but I don't know if I could find one under 7 foot that I would like as much probably as I do the Adrena, and I'm sure I could in a Megabass, but I can't put my hands on those kind of things, and they are more expensive. So for right now, I'm going to live in the Poison Adrena, thinking about getting a X-Pride 610 medium like Brew Tank has, like Tactical Bass, and Matt Allen's been preaching that for years for his favorite jerkbait rod. But I'll be honest, I got two pretty good jerkbait rods right now. That Contest in a 6'8", the Sharp, I think. Whatever the medium light, not the medium. I think the Quick was the medium. So that is probably, for these baits, is probably even a touch easier to work this bait than the Adrena, but I can't really knock either one because I did nothing but catch little dinks on this bait and a few other baits, and I think I only missed like 1 or 2 hits on either rod. Like, very awesome working hookup ratio. Like, it does it all. Both of those rods do it all. Now, if you wanted to get that, the Contest is only 120 to 40 bucks, depends on when you buy it at AliExpress, but then it comes with the handle. It's not really, I put my handle on there. I shortened it just a hair, so it's not truly a 6'8", but the handle's a touch shorter than it was. Not by a lot, but that typically can help it for a jerkbait. But that rod does feel good for a jerkbait, and it's a cheaper option. Honestly though, I didn't never do that, but I never bought it. I was gonna get the Jordan Lee jerkbait rod. I want to say it's 6'8" too. That rod would probably work. Because almost, if you guys remember me talking about it, I'm almost bought all three of those. But for the money, that may honestly work. What else? We can talk about anything else. Oh, tomorrow. Wait a minute. What have we got going on here? Now Eddie's saying I need to get the Phoenix 6.9 medium heavy. No. The thing about it, I don't want to even try it because I know I'll probably like it and love it. I can't go anywhere with the Phoenix 6.9 medium heavy from there, is what I'm saying. If I got it and loved it, I could buy more 6.9 medium heavies, but I can't really go anywhere from there. This Poison Adrena, I can't really go too far here in the US, but all over eBay, coming from Japan or whatever, they make that Poison Adrena in a bunch of different options under 7 foot, even in that 7.1 or 2 if I really wanted to. But then I also have what I feel comes very close, the X Pride lineup, or even if I want to go down to the Corrado. Those are very close blanks. But I think with that medium, I don't know. I just don't know what I would do with, I don't know. I'm tempted to buy, I'm trying to just fish for a while with this dude and just get used to it. But I am tempted because I know I talked about it in the beginning of this video. This combo right here can go crazy because I got the shallow spool. It can cast very light baits. It can go way up. That is 20-pound test braid, but I can switch out leaders. I could put a 6-pound leader on this if I want to. Right? Or whatever. And it will go everywhere, but I feel on the high end or true BFS. So the rod that I keep hearing about, and you guys probably wonder, where do you keep hearing about all this stuff? I watch YouTube videos too. You guys should also be watching other YouTube videos too. But I've always heard since it came out, this 6'9" Super Destroyer is kind of one of those awesome all around on that touch higher up. So they make a blade. They make the 6'8", a power or half a power or something less than the 6'9", and it's the blade, and I think they recommend it for the spinner baits and chatter baits and stuff like that. But the Super Destroyer is a touch heavier, and is also, though, the way it has that flex like I talked about with the Adrena, it just kind of that P5 material, it gives it that more of a forgiveness. So I'm tempted to get that because I think I could do, like I could basically do the jigs and then go down into, you know, chatter baits and other stuff to where I could kind of cross up what the Adrena does there. And honestly, I could probably get by with 2 rods, but I'm almost doing that now with the Carbon Light 2.0, 6'9" medium heavy. And in watching a few videos, what's funny is I feel that 6'9" it's got it's not really on the heavy side, but I feel the coating may honestly be what helps it give it the feel it's got. I thought it was kind of heavy, but the 6'9" Super Adrena and it both weigh, I think, 128 grams is what I think they both weigh. 128 or 129. Because I weighed mine, and I was watching the guy in the video. He weighed the Super Destroyer. I want to say Bass Sniper. And I thought, man, that thing doesn't weigh but a little bit, I guess, more powerful than a 6'9" medium heavy, but just as forgiving, then it may pay off. But I don't also know where it's lighter. Maybe, or where the weight is. It may be overall more balanced where it would take less weight towards the butt to give it a true balance feel, to where the 6'9" medium heavy, what do I have, a ounce and a half something in it. Oh, what I did with the Adrena, when you guys saw me out there fishing it, I just fished it like it was. Now what I'm going to try this weekend, I pretty much like balanced it. So right here, I don't know if you guys can see that. So I added just 1 ounce of weight. I've talked to one of my walleye buddies, and he wasn't going to be in a tournament anytime soon, so he didn't need it. So I stuck just an ounce, you know, taped it up, stuck it in here, stuck this on, and I just kind of pulled it down to help hold it on, plus to do away with some of that gaudy looking gray. Looks awesome on the carbon lights, doesn't look so good on the Adrena. So I'm just going to try it, compare it to without it. Does it, you know, it shouldn't take away sensitivity, but maybe it does. And fish it and see if I just want it without it or with it or whatever. But basically with that light of a reel, the Steez Limited, and 1 ounce, it almost gives this 6'11" a perfect balance. Like, it feels very good. It feels way lighter than the 7-foot medium moderate or the 6'9" medium heavy, you know, in hand. But then it's just as balanced as those. Like, that's why I think the Adrenas are kind of that awesome rod. They're powerful, sensitive, and light. Very good rods. Durability, I don't know yet. Fished it 1 day. I think in my opinion, it's $379 rod. Might as well call it $400 rod. If it doesn't last 5 years, like if I feel it broke under just normal wear, much as I love the action or may love it or whatever, I probably would not buy any more. But if it lasts, or were to me accidentally break it doing something stupid, I probably would have to, at this point in time, I'd probably have to go buy myself another one. Now, they say they come with like some sort of year warranty. So in the first year, if something were to happen, I would definitely do what it took to get another one, get it replaced. So far, because it does feel very good. All right, I'm going to get out here. Over an hour. Man, I'm supposed to go to the gym. Yeah. Oh, Jay ordered. Okay, let me read this. Brew Tank says, okay, you talked me into it. I'm going full X Prides. They're good rod. Well, you got one. You got the 610 medium. I mean, you get the, like, you get the medium and the 6'10". You get the 6'10" medium heavy, and then you get the 6'10" medium glass, I think it is, which should throw heavier stuff than what the, you know, and especially in treble type stuff. And honestly, with those 3 rods, you could probably cover all your fishing needs on bass fishing. Stick right to those 6'10". They'll all be roughly about balanced the same feel overall. You know, hook sets will be different with the each one a touch. With the glass more than the others, you know, typically you kind of just do a pull, you know, and pull fast and hard. And with the, you know, medium heavy, you're probably gonna be throwing jigs. You're probably gonna not really pop it, not do a slack line, but you probably could, but not really slack. I don't recommend slack lining because that whole shock factor we talked about. But, you know, put a harder hook set with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't think a guy could go wrong going full X Prides. Now, the Brew Tank says the carbon light 7-foot medium moderate would be a good jerkbait rod. I used it. If you go back and look at that video and I said I don't have my jerkbait rod with me, you see that thing. It works, but the shock of it is I wouldn't want to fish it a long time. And that's the only downside to the contest. It's a smaller 6'8". I think it works this bait maybe a touch better, but I don't know if you can make it out in videos when I've used it. I kind of hold it softer because I let it does also kind of give it a little boing, and if you try to hold on tight, I feel it'll wear you out quicker. I kind of actually hold that rod lighter when I'm using it for jerkbait, to where the Adrena honestly has that, it's like you can, and you want to pop the slack line right? You want to jerk slack, you want to like, it's slack and you want to hit it and then come back to slack, like, you know, once, twice, and then you change it up from there. And in all honesty, sometimes you can just pull it and let off. I've seen them, like, sometimes it doesn't matter, and then other times I've heard, I was listening to a guy up at Rogers talk, and he said his buddy was catching them and he was just pulling the jerkbait and then killing it, you know, like just moving it and then killing it and then moving it and killing it, and that's the only way he could get them bite that day. But I have no idea. I don't even know which jerkbait he was using. But that dude was on fire, and they kind of almost wanted it more aggressive, like a multiple series of jerks and then a pause, and then, you know, several different ways. But I always just, by watching people, is to vary it until you get on, you kind of can tell exactly why they want it, and then just try to repeat that, which is usually don't just jerk it once, let it set, jerk it once, let it set, and then don't try to go from 1 to 3 to 5 little maybe short little bursts, and then pause it, but then also change your pauses. Don't count to 4 every time. You get in that methodical thing a lot of times, just that may not let him hit as much. You want erratic. You want different powers of jerks. You want different numbers of jerks, and you want different time in between. And then once you kind of get that cadence built, you're doing a certain way, and if you bam one hits it, you try to remember like, oh, what was I doing, and then repeat that. Not repeat the same exact motions, but repeat, was it a faster pace, a harder jerking, more in between. And typically in cold water, it is a slow, almost methodical thing. But sometimes in that warmer water, they're just sitting there watching it. It needs to go faster to get them to react, not slower. And I think that's almost where we're on the verge of that, because sometimes when I started working this thing faster, it's like it instantly got hit. So yeah, I'm out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm not reading anymore. Okay, there's another comment. Let me read that one. Let's see what Jay had to say. Now, Jay says his Arise Air shipped out to me today. Yeah, my Elite did. I got the Elite because I'm Elite. And if it says Elite, just like on Loose Stuff and Cast King, it's great. But no, that reel is the one that spoke to me, looked better for me anyway. Yeah, Jay, if you're just now joining, I done talked all about the Adrena and really any rod. And it's not really, it's like, I don't know what blank material, I never go that in depth, these start out with, what the NRX will start out with, what the AliExpress ones start out with. But then any of those I feel that have the cross woven thing, that Shimano's got it right. I don't think I think some of these put a little too much, which makes for maybe even more durable if they don't give you a flawed one, but maybe a more durable rod. But and it may even add sensitivity, but I use braid, so it doesn't matter. But I think it takes just a touch, and I'm not talking a lot, just a touch out of the overall action and the forgiveness of the rod. That's the best way I know how to describe it. Like the forgiveness of the rod, I think with all the Shimano cross-woven ones, down to the Corrado now. You can go get the Corrado, the Zodius, the X-Pride, the Poison Adrena, now the NRX Plus, the Conquest. They all have adapted that to like the whole entire rod lineups that they carry, starting out with the Corrado. And I think they just have kind of not perfected it. Nothing's perfect, but they've got it so close that the fact they don't use as much as some other companies, whether it be AliExpress or the old Destroyer X7 Megabass ones. I don't even know how many other companies may still be out there, but they have it to where it overall lighter. I don't want to say crisper, because those ones may be even what you would say more crisp than these, but just a more, and I don't want to say moderate or regular taper, because they're not, but there's like 2 actions to a lot of these rods, I feel, is why I like them. They got that first part that's not, it's like the tip bends a little deeper than on some other rods, and it's not a soft, but it's not a hard tip, and then it bends even more. The backbone also has like a flex and a bend, and I'm not talking, it doesn't take like a full loaded fish on it to do it. It just does it with, I don't know, I don't know what I'm trying to explain, but I would just call it a more forgiving on the way they've got this cross-woven thing with a lighter overall rod, but yet still as capable as some of these rods that are typically a little heavier. But this, you have to go back and watch it, Jay, but I kind of fixed mine. But like this guy and the contest rods, I feel they're probably perfectly fine, but I feel that maybe there's just too much cross-woven stuff. Now, if you guys remember right, the horrible rod, the Cayenne Conquerors, They had this stuff going like up to the first guide, and then I ended up snapping them all off further up. And I think one of the downsides to that was I think they had too much backbone because of that cross-woven stuff, and their blank material was too weak. I think those cunning conquerors, if they would have done this full thing all the way to the tip, actually may have been pretty good rods. As far as I know, there's still one alive. Jeremy has it. I broke all the other ones. I bought 5, broke 4, sold 1. All right, guys, I got to go to the gym. Wow, Eddie says that is something to think about. Eddie, just now, Eddie, quit. You're gonna make me spend more money. Eddie says the Phoenix Feather. It's a 6'9", I believe, in it medium heavy. So chatterbait rod, basically. Every time I hear under 7 foot, medium heavy, I'm thinking, will it handle a chatterbait? How forgiving is it? He says it's 90 grams. Like I just talked about, the Super Destroyer and the Carbon Light 2.0 are definitely like 128 grams. So that, how much? Oh my God, that's 30, almost 40 grams. So about 30 grams for an ounce. So yeah, that is a lot lighter rod. I can't remember what this Adrena. I thought I weighed it. I got weight on it and the reel on it now, so I'm not going to weigh it, but it just feels very good. I know it's actually longer than the, but it's not as heavy as in the rating either as the 6'9" Carbon Light, but it's a touch longer, 2 inches longer, but it takes less weight to balance it, if that makes sense. So I think it's definitely a lighter overall rod. But Eddie also said, he didn't hear, but he had told me before that the Phoenix Feathers are a little softer than their rating, though. Like they're the opposite way. Like that's hard to, like some of these rods you don't really know until you start getting out fishing different rods. Like which ones feel like all of them so far. The contest anyway. The Kind Conquerors were like that also. They felt a little heavier than what the ratings were supposed to be. But there's some rods out there that I feel go the lighter way. Kind of like the Carbon Lights. I feel they're a touch towards the lighter side. And I want to say, don't hold me to it, I want to say the NRX rods are known for that also. They're a touch lighter than you would think they would be. I know the 802C was a very verge of BFSE type thing, and I think it's considered a medium. And it's probably tips more like a medium light, and then the medium heavy is probably more like a medium on the jig worm one anyway. All right, guys, I'm out. If you guys want, check out the Phoenix Feather Eddie's talking about. I can't make myself buy one yet anyway. That Tier 1 all black Luz rod feels good too. I think it's 6'10" medium heavy. That feels like it almost has a dual thing. I don't know how I would like it once I got out and fished it, but it's like 129. And right now Roger's having 20% off. I could get that rod for probably like $100. And I just don't know though. I don't even need it. And it's a Luz. The only thing I got that matches this handle assembly. I could put this rod on it, or reel on it. I don't know. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. Tomorrow I have, not this, the other, I'll probably do an unboxing. My other regular spool, the other Steez Limited, should show up tomorrow from Digitaka. FedEx shows it'll be here. So we'll unbox it. I don't even know what I'm going to put it on, to tell you the truth. Oh, I know what I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put it, this one was on the 7 foot medium moderate, and that's probably what I'll put it on. And I just thought about something else I want to talk about. I was up at Rogers today, like I mentioned, and I felt they have I think it's 7 foot medium moderate, or 7 foot all around they call it. The new Tatula, and it feels like it's as good or maybe even better. I don't know. I put it right there with the Carbon Light. It definitely has a good overall feel. The reel seat's good on those rods. That rod feels good. Like if I didn't have or know about my 7 foot Carbon Light medium moderate, I would probably think I needed to buy one of those. You don't need to buy one of those, Hicklin. Stop buying rods. Buy high dollar reels, right? Go full bougie on the reels. And then we got the Elite coming. And mine shipped also. It shows it shipped. Doesn't I want to say it shows like May 8th is expected delivery date, but that absolutely means nothing. I've had stuff say that comes a week early or 2 weeks before that time. That time really doesn't even mean anything there. I just kind of watch it every few days. Where's it at now, right? You guys have all played that AliExpress game. Where's it at now? It's in the export hub. It's in the whatever. It's in customs. No, wait, it's back here. It's over there. Oh my goodness. So anyway, guys, gotta go. Thanks for watching. Gotta go. Gotta go.